Alright, what up? You're now tuning into the frequency of Prism. Today is actually a long overdue video. We're talking about the subject of vulnerability. It's an interesting topic, it's quite dynamic. There's so many different perspectives that we can look at it from. And I've been meaning to really get this video out, but I've done some reflecting on it. I've even done some coaching on it. I've had some conversations with a few friends, just diving into what vulnerability means, you know. We all comes from different walks of life, so we're going to look at things differently, and that's what I aim to do today, is shift your perspective on what vulnerability means and why it's important. So in this video, if you stick around, we're going to look at how vulnerability can make you a stronger leader. It can make you a better entrepreneur, you know, just overall to cultivate a better, more genuine tribe. And, you know, like we've heard, your vibe is your tribe. So such an important component of your wellness comes from being around the right people, positive people. And most importantly of all, I believe that vulnerability is a superpower, a superhuman power that you have that most of us don't really dive and connect to. So today we're going to learn about connecting to yourself through being vulnerable. And immediately there's a negative aspect of vulnerability when we look into the definition of what that means. So let's start with looking at the definition of it. So vulnerability for me ultimately means to live free, to live fully expressed, and to be completely transparent, to live such as imagine of just being an open book, like, hey, yo, this is what it is, and hopefully others can see you for the true you. What's interesting is when I was researching a little bit of vulnerability, I found that the dictionary, for the most part online, has negative qualities. So here we go. The quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. So that's really interesting. So right off the bat, you don't want to be vulnerable, basically. You don't want to let your guard down. Another one is, let's see. Vulnerability is a weakness or some area where you are exposed or at risk. If you're running from political office and you don't want anyone to find out about a scandal in your past, the scandal is an example of vulnerability. While some of that may be true, of course, we're going to look at vulnerability from a strength perspective. And a lot of these videos, I want to make you stronger, and I am choosing to represent strength, of course. So vulnerability is a very important component, I believe, to taking yourself to that next level as a leader, as a unique, vibrant individual, to be able to express some sort of significant or important message. Now, if you're a male and leading perhaps a family or a community or whatever has inspired you to lead some sort of movement, and hopefully if you're watching this and you're following me, you're committed to being a leader and to, you know, holding and carrying a voice of your own. And if you're going to be able to, you know, convey and express a meaningful subject matter, such as a message, it's very important for you to come from a place of authenticity and just to have a genuine approach. That's going to help attract the right type of audience that you're looking for. And that's important as an individual for wellness. You don't even have to be a business, you know, person or an entrepreneur, but it's going to be really important for you to dial in and tune in your inner circle and make sure that they're there for the true you. All right. So when we look at vulnerability as transparency, because vulnerability is to, like the definition said, is to take off your armor and all these things that protect you and they leave you at risk. So that's the negative side, and I always talk about, let's look at both sides. Now, let's look at the positive side, the upside, and that's what changing your perspective is all about, is looking at things and choosing to see things from a positive perspective. The positive side of vulnerability is basically, to keep things simple, for me, I translate vulnerability as transparency. And transparency, like I said, is just to not be afraid of the outcome of things, and to not live in our heads, but to live in our body and to operate from here, either from our heart, and to feel through the experiences, to feel through our intuition, or to really breathe into opportunity or breathe into a certain experience that you're going through. That's going to allow you to relate to your physical body a lot more than, and help make you make more informed decisions versus being stuck in your head and making decisions and living life only through your head. Of course, your head is a lot of logic and math and a lot of concrete, decisions that you have to make must come from our head as we're experiencing this reality. But if you only live through your head, you're not going to be able to always be in tune with your environment and be in harmony. Now, I don't want to digress and talk about your environment communicating to you, but vulnerability is a very strong part of communicating. So once you start to let go of that fear, which may be what people are going to say, fear of judgment, criticism, then you start to bear what is really there and bear it all, per se, and show your true colors and show what's there, and to stand there perhaps nude, or you're nude in the sense of, hey, this is what it is. This is who I am. And should you choose to judge me or what you think, or it doesn't matter. What you think of me is irrelevant to how I feel about myself. So not being afraid of the outcome translates to a courage. This is a strong individual. This is a character of strength to be able to say, yo, this is who I am. If you don't like it, you could leave it. If you don't appreciate it, then perhaps you don't need to be in my life as much as you are. All right, so cultivating and being mindful of that space of who's near you. Why are they really there? Are they there for the true you, or do you need to take responsibility and start questioning? Are they there for that front or that image or that fakeness that you have maybe slightly portrayed, right? So we got to really ask ourselves all those questions. And once you start to shift more into not being afraid of what people think and just showing up as your true self, unfiltered, unapologetically, that's going to shake up your entire universe, on a social level, and everything is energy. As like I said, we're going to talk a lot about energy and frequency, but you're emitting all this. It's outwards. Our body, our heart has a pulse rate. It has a magnetic aura that you're emitting. So when you start to see yourself as more courageous and willing to be honest and communicate your truth, regardless of what people think, you start to automatically shift the vibration of what you're emitting, what you're expressing outwards, just energetically. People might be able to feel that presence. People might be able to be repelled by it, perhaps. And we're going to talk a little bit further in that, how your vulnerability is going to scare some people. Your confidence will push others away, will invite criticism. So we're going to talk about that, but it's this willingness that I want to bring to the table. Are you willing, are you able to show people a side of you that you have been hiding, or to voice a certain opinion that you may have on a certain subject matter and just be true? I think in the end, when you put it all in a nutshell and you're able to live consistently throughout the days and express your ideas, express your concerns, express what matters and what's dear to your heart, to your loved ones, to your friends, perhaps on social media. I don't know if you need to take it that far. That's me, right? Because a part of my role is to inspire and uplift and instigate change. So that's my responsibility as my purpose. So connected to your purpose, how important is it for you to lead with a strong voice and share this very unique point of view that only you have? So we all come from different walks of life, and we all have a gift to offer the world. We all have a very unique view on this world based on our experiences, based on our past, based on our setbacks or comebacks. Everything that has been colorful in life and everything that has been dark has allowed us to learn a lot of new things and experience the world in such a unique way that you have a lot of ideas or new like offerings. There's a lot that you can offer to the world that I can't, right? I've traveled the world. I've gone through a lot of dark periods in my life, ups and downs. I've had a lot of financial troubles in the past. My whole entrepreneurship career and a lot of relationships have been fucking roller coasters. So what have I learned a lot about? You know, my darkness has become my light. I've learned a lot about relationships. I've learned a lot about chemistry and energy and social dynamics and health and wellness. You know, looking at your life from a holistic perspective. And of course, as I've had a lot of financial troubles and, you know, struggled with entrepreneurship and getting clients as a consultant, man, I got really good at that stuff. So my weaknesses eventually became my strengths. So when it's time for me to love and express and be passionate in how I show up to the day and offer the world something, that's what I have to offer. I have to offer what I've overcome, what I've been through, and what I've had to work through. All right, so that's the love that I choose to express to the world, and that's how I choose to, if you will, make love to this world and show up passionately, right? That's what turns me on when I wake up. I'm like, I'm gonna serve. I'm gonna live up to my purpose, and I'm gonna express that message. And no matter what people think, at night I get to go to bed thinking, I'm keeping it real. I'm me, and I'm courageously living fully expressed. For me, that is essential to my health, my overall emotional well-being. And of course, it's also essential to attracting the right type of people that I need to be around, so that I can inspire you, and so that we can build something, that we can collaborate, and that we can network, and then we can create something. Because I need you to create, I need others to collaborate, to partner with. And so I'm always thinking from what do you have? What do I have? How can we come together and create something larger, right? Two forces becoming one. So that's how I learned that from business, just networking and partnering and leveraging our relationships on any level. Now, so the opposite of not willing to be vulnerable, and this takes practice. It's a slow, progressive, it goes through a series of stages that you have to slowly start to open up. It's therapeutic as well. So as you slowly start to let go of this constant fear of being criticized or judged, you're going to start to find out, you're going to reap the benefits, but at the same time, you're going to see the challenges as people start to tell you, well, you're wrong, and people put you in categories. But you're also going to see that when you get rid of this, whatever is connected to this lack of vulnerability, a lot of times it's shame or just unworthiness, or it's safer to hide. When you finally start to overcome this, you will see that you're going to start to run into some really genuine people. Your ability to connect on a human level is going to skyrocket. And it may just be that you attract one person or make a new friend that you're like, I really appreciate you, or I'm glad that you're in my life. And you just connect on an emotional level, on a human level. And that connection is priceless. You can't put a price to it. It's invaluable when you have someone that can support you and knows where you're coming from and is there for you, and there's some sort of common ground. So that's really key. But how do we overcome that shame, or how do we overcome hiding all the time, so that we can live more, expressed, and stop living just through our heads? Because a lot of that is fantasy. A lot of that is just how we see each other and the world. And when you start to get out of your head and all the thoughts and the what ifs, and you start to feel through the decisions, and live intentionally in that way, and operate and come from your heart, from a place of service, or from a place of fulfillment, or from a place of gratitude, right? Then you can finally start to breathe into every single second of your day from that experience. That's going to automatically change your vibration. And like I said, I have gone through a lot of dark periods, and my vulnerability my vulnerability maturity started when I began my entrepreneur career, right? In my professional corporate career, I just needed to be talented and skilled. So I did not develop those interpersonal relationship skills, or that dialogue and that introspective communication that it takes to self-develop, that it takes to mature emotionally, right? I have this gift to where anything that I touch, eventually, if I dedicate time, I become good at it. So throughout my corporate career, I was a very exceptional creative, and I was a creative. I was a designer, an art director. I did a lot of creative roles around visual design, and so I got good. But there was this certain void that was missing, and of course that was this leadership, entrepreneurship journey that I needed to embark on. But at that point in my corporate career, I had not considered that. And only until I started, getting over my corporate career and saying, you know what, I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I want to set my own schedule. That was all very alluring to me and attractive. So I took that plunge into entrepreneurship career. I'm going to probably do another video on my whole entrepreneurship, development slowly. But as I dove into working for myself, man, those were some dark periods. And I started to understand that to create content and to, lead a tribe and to be able to speak and to be able to attract and have a constant pool of constantly generating clients and leads, and to have a social media presence as an independent, consultant or as an independent creative, that was essential to my business. And I came from this very superficial, on the surface, no judgment, no shame, but I didn't have any substance to offer as far as showing up to the online world. And only until I started eventually learning to speak better and working on my communication skills. And it's funny, I went to school for communication, but this really took my communication levels and it challenged it, because I was a great communicator. I was naturally just always comfortable with speaking. But when it came to speaking about myself and opening up, man, that was quite a challenge. And the business, what I learned, man, when you connect on a human level, it just makes business fluid. The trust levels just, and business is just all about trust. People are not going to pour in thousands of dollars into your bank account unless they trust you. Of course, I had the skills, but I just didn't have so you need to basically connect to humans and potential prospects and clients, on a genuine, powerful level. And I didn't have that, so I wasn't able to close, and you working on sales and stuff, that was a challenge. So only until I started really opening up and telling my story and sharing my message and have it all be congruent so that it could be received as relevant, as valuable, informative, and of course, genuine. It all seemed congruent. And when psychologically, when people are making decisions to hire you, and it all clicks, and they're like, okay, wow, he's transparent, he's honest, he's not hiding anything. I see the value and the merit and the quality in his work. They're going to hire you, and they're going to write that check, and they're going to throw a bunch of money at you, as long as you have a valuable, skilled service to offer, right? And the biggest part of me, when I saw my business pivot and turn the corner, was really when I started to open up and I started to tell my story, my entrepreneurship story. When I really started to tell the truth of where I came from and how I developed. And a big part for me was that I struggled was shame. So when I was 5 years old, my family illegally immigrated into this country. And so we did what a lot of illegal immigrants do, Fast forward, we became U.S. citizens. But for the meantime, myself, my two sisters, and my family, we worked a lot of odd jobs. So I was waking up at 5 a.m, working with my dad, doing landscaping, where other kids are just having breakfast. Normal kids were having breakfast. So I grew up with this anger towards my family, this shame towards myself, and I was just like, why do we, after school, I would have to go deliver newspapers with my dad. I would have to go clean houses with my mom. So my dad was a plumber, he was a landscaper. My mom was cooking all the time, and my mom was cleaning houses, and she had 4 or 5 different little businesses. So my parents were all both hustlers. So of course, being the only male, I had to work with them all the time. So before school, I'm like, I've been up since 5. I already ran already delivered a bunch of newspapers around here with my dad early in the morning. After that, I would go clean houses or on the weekends. So my parents really did everything they could to provide for us, but I felt this anger of, why do I have to work this much, or why do I have to be, or why? And I started noticing, like, in my young, you know, as a 6-year-old, as a 7-year-old, I started noticing, like, whoa, I'm different, right? All my other friends are not doing the things that I'm doing, so I'm different. And then I started to understand, like, oh shit, we're illegal immigrants. We're not documented, right? So that means we're illegal. What does that mean? Like, we're here, we've broken the law, right? So eventually I grew up with that, and I was like, yo, like, damn, I'm ashamed of that. And then as I started becoming a teenager, you know, that affected my confidence. And for whatever reasons, you know, maybe I'll do another video on it, is I hid a lot. And I had a lot of shame, and of course that's connected to unworthiness. And that feeling really was very limiting. And I never really told the truth, so I hid that. And so I wore a mask, or I changed the subjects, and when people ask questions, man, how it all transpired for me was I had to go to anger management. So I was a violent individual, and like, I was just snappy. And it was because I had all this anger pent up, where I didn't understand, like, why me? Why are we different? Why did I have to work this much? And why can't I have that? And you know what? So I just felt out of place, like a misfit. And I'm sure we all could relate to that on some level. So only until I started, like, this entrepreneurship thing, and really looking at, like, holy shit, I harbored a lot of anger and resentment, you know, towards myself, but I pointed the fingers a lot. Like, I just didn't like my parents, and I didn't like my culture, and, you know, actually struggled with being Hispanic as well, because of the whole psychology of being an undocumented young child, right? So as I started to work through this and be like, holy shit, I held a lot of negativity inside me, and that affected my vibration. And so of course I attracted a lot of, like, weird, odd relationships that either became toxic or just fizzled out and didn't work out. So my youth was very challenging, and so I needed therapy. Actually I don't want to make this video about me, but I'm telling you a little bit about my backstory, so you could relate, and I could explain how vital vulnerability has been to my therapy and to my healing, if you will. I chose to go about it from a therapeutic perspective of speaking and just opening up. But there's so many different ways that you can heal through vulnerability. But I did a lot of counseling because of my anger management. I always threw shit, and it just, you know, growing up, and, you know, I was a hyperactive ADHD child, so being on Adderall, so just this whole I was just a rebellious youth, and that got me into a lot of trouble. But I just grew up very creatively, so I've had a lot of energy, so it's actually been a gift, you know, hindsight. My rebellion and my creativity and all that energy was very liberating in a way. So my therapeutic, approach, as an entrepreneur, was just to open up and speak about my journey and speak about my challenges. And I also was able to do a lot of that through a lot of the therapy and a lot of the counseling that I had to go to because of my ADHD and because of my anger management stuff, and, you know, always being in trouble. So I was always speaking to counselors, and I was always so just getting it out of you, right? This is like this energy and this shame or unworthiness or just not fitting in or not feeling like you're enough. All that actually is very harmful to your body. And when we harbor all those negative emotions, we might not be aware because we're not conscious of it. We're not in this self-development world, right? If you've never worked with a life coach or a therapist, but if all that stuff is in you, and if it doesn't come out, man, it's gonna, over time, it transmutes into, it manifests into disease, it manifests into vices, it manifests into attracting the wrong type of people, toxic relationships. So not being able to deal with yourself and be vulnerable and talk about it, right? You don't have to go as far as what I'm doing is just, you know, having an online presence, but that's what I did. I started traveling and sharing, being very outspoken and unapologetic about who I was and what I've been through, and just, like I said, being an open book, man. And just over time, I did years of live videos on Facebook, and I had a following, and that actually helped me a lot with my business. So I created a lot of content, but man, I felt so much better because it's like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I just got all that. So you need so if you're not an entrepreneur and you that's not important to you, man, you need to have a life coach, or you need to have that one friend that you can open up to. And so just don't hold anything in, man. That's the worst thing that you could do, especially if you want to be a leader and have a compelling and powerful message. And finally, the other part that is connected to the superhuman power that you have when you begin to allow yourself to be vulnerable is that you will start to develop the habit of leaping into the unknown. And let me tell you something, transformation and what lies ahead for you and everything that's already coming your way, the next level when you start to up level and you're like, I want more from life, or I want to be connected more to my purpose, or I want to just connect more to my higher self, all that is behind the unknown. And sometimes that means taking a risk, making educated, calculated new decisions, disrupting the patterns and going for it and leaping into the unknown. And that's what courage is. And when you start to be vulnerable and open up, you don't have to be vulnerable towards people. You could just be vulnerable in the sense of, I'm going to make a change in my life, and I'm not sure what that's going to pan out, but I know it's my heart's calling, and I'm going to take a few steps towards my dreams so that my dreams can take a few steps towards me. That, in a sense, is vulnerability as well, because you're now saying, hey, I'm not sure quite what's going to happen, but I'm disconnected from the outcome. Whatever the outcome is, I trust my journey. I know my journey is my own to overcome. And finally, I'm willing to find out what that's going to look like for me, what that new level of me is going to look like. Perhaps you're like, what, I'm going to really up my game as far as my athletic abilities, or I'm going to take my entrepreneurship and my business to the next level, and I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in more education. I'm going to school up. I'm going to equip up. I'm going to double down in me this year. I'm not going to focus on a bunch of other things. And I'm not sure what's going to happen. So that puts you in a vulnerable space of shit, man. A lot of things could happen. You might fail. But once you start to let go of all the what ifs and the fails, you're going to start to tap into more greatness, because the unknown, that's where the magic happens. So if you want miracles and magic to happen in your life, then the miraculous is only going to come into your life when you start believing in yourself and putting yourself out there, right? And just living transparent but leaping and going for it. And finally, if there's something I really want you to take from this video, is that vulnerability is going to attract, and it's actually will make you a magnetic force of nature. It'll make you a powerful being, in that you will start to attract those that are really meant to be in your life and perhaps stay a little bit longer. People come into our lives, for a period, for a season, or they stick around for quite a while, and that's not an accident. But you want the people that are truly in your life to celebrate you for who you are. Think about it. Even we have family members, and they say they support us, or friends. But are they really celebrating us? That really made a big connection. Once a coach mentioned that to me, are the people in your life celebrating you? When people are celebrating you, they're just like, yo, you got this, go for it. Like, they understand, so you need to be, and the only way that you can be around people that truly celebrate and honor you and respect you and value you is for them to see your true colors and see you for who you truly are. So when we wear these masks and we cover up and we're not willing to show and reveal like our true selves and say what our intentions are, then we can't blame other people for not being able to support us and celebrate our true essence, because we haven't showed up in that light. All right, so you're going to attract more of who you're meant to be, and all this computes to you need to be around the right people, and you need to be in a like-minded community that is on the same frequency in you. It's going to be very impossible for you to build a business, for you to get amazing results, and to up-level who you are without a good support system. Right? So that is of most value, and the priority should be is to be around people. I talk a lot about nutrition, and of course I'm really into fitness, and nutrition is such a key component in performance. But as far as your emotional well-being, let me tell you, the people are the true nutrition in your life. And one of my mentors said, you need to become a peopletarian. And it's because we exchange energy with people, and the people that we're allowing to influence us, the people near us, the people that we respect, that we value, that inspire us, man, all that is injecting energy into you, right? Because you relate to it, or it moves you. So hopefully this video has inspired you in some way to reflect on, hey, how can I be a little bit more vulnerable? And when you start to value people more, man, you will find that wealth doesn't just mean making more money or, your professional endeavors. Wealth is actually how well you feel about yourself. The new benchmark for wealth is how fucking healthy you are, because that means you have what people don't have. Even if some rich people don't have enough time, right? Because they're just bombarded. So wealth is having freedom, flexibility, time, health, longevity, vitality, energy, purpose. For me, that's really the superpower. And there's a lot of ways to get there, but trust me, vulnerability is the fast track to self-development. Whether it be you have to talk to someone, speak to yourself, work on it, or just be mindful and aware of that, because your tribe is your vibe. And as an entrepreneur, let me tell you, that's going to take your communication skills to the next level. I'm going to be doing a workshop soon in January, if you're in Orange County, around up-leveling your communication skills. So if I do, I might link some of the messages below if you happen to be in Orange County. But let me tell you, vulnerability has been the game changer for me. All right, stay up, stay strong. Peace.